Hello, I'm Chris, guitar teacher from the northeast of England. We're going to write some music today. You're going to write some music today, and we're going to do it in a very easy way using open tunings. We're not going to talk too much about theory, we're going to get right into it. This video is for beginners to intermediate and even advanced, because it might be something that you haven't dipped your feet into yet, and it's a really powerful tool for coming up with sketches of songs and fully fledged tunes, riffs, very, very quickly. Used in folk music, metal, but today we're going to look at shoegaze and alt rock. So for this demonstration, I'm in D, A, D, F sharp, A, E, or Yvette Young tuning as I like to call it. Here's some common shoegaze and alt rock tunings you can try, but don't obsess about the shapes that I'm using here. We're using our ear. This is all about using your ear, not about memorizing shapes or scale patterns. Very natural way of writing. I think you'll enjoy it. Skip to the end if you want to get some ideas for chords in these tunings. Now I'm using a Jaguar today. The Jaguar, now don't buy a Jaguar just to put it into alternative tunings. That would be ridiculous. But if you like it, you can get it. Now, the bridge on a Jaguar locks, so it only bends down. It can bend both ways if you mess around with this little button here, so it goes both ways. But you can lock it so it only moves down, which means that it's very good for it. It's much more stable for alternate tunings. I like to use my Telecaster because that's a fixed bridge. It doesn't have any trem system on it. Now, if you're thinking about putting your Floyd Rose into different tunings, well, you're going to be in a world of pain, but it can be done. So I like to see alternative tunings and open tunings as a real cheat code to guitar. If we're approaching this like, right, I've changed my tuning, I need to learn all the chords and all the scales again. What's the point? What was the point in changing the tuning in the first place? Surely there must be some reason to doing this, and I think it's to make it easy. Well, to make it easier anyway. I see it like a blank canvas is quite an intimidating thing. What can be nice if you're drawing and painting is if you start off with a like sepia tone that's almost the mid-tones of your drawing, and then you draw on it with black and white. We've already got the mid-tones. We don't have to put everything in. You know, if I just take one finger, play one note randomly, it's already sounding good. I can move that around. And I'm using all the open strings there. Now there's a lifetime's worth of practice, noodling, and exploration itself. Really, I do not exaggerate there. This is something that I've done for a long time. But we can take it a little further than that, okay? And I don't see the point in approaching this in a very theory-heavy way, because as guitarists, we get into the habits of playing through the pentatonic scale. In my case, I use a lot of major scale in my stuff, and I get into the same sort of phrases. I use alternative tunings to get away from that, to stop thinking about it in a very harmony and theoretical approach. All right, it's just nice to be able to chill and play some dissonance there, but it doesn't matter. It's nice to just be able to sort of easily explore. And we're going to set you up for that today, all right? So, obviously I'm approaching this from a shoegaze perspective, alt rock perspective. Kevin Shields from My Bloody Valentine and Belinda Butcher use a lot of different tunings, but and Sonic Youth are very much known for it. Toe, Covet. I'm using an Yvette Young tuning here, I always call it. Good for the old tapper tapper. But I don't really do much of that. But I actually started with open tuning, playing folk music. Bert Jansk from Pentangle. A bit of Nick Drake too. He uses a lot of open tunings. If you want to get into open tunings, search out Nick Drake, okay? And very, very good for learning fingerstyle. Quite simple sort of patterns that he uses. So rather than learning a load of open chords and stuff that, you know, they don't work, The normal cowboy chords don't work, and well, some of them might do. The normal cowboy chords might not work in an open tuning that you're in. And by the way, this will work for almost every open tuning that you play in. You don't have to play in the same tuning that I'm using today. Okay, this works with anything. Find some intervals. Now intervals means the distance between two notes. Now this is about as theoretical as we're going to get today, and it's very useful to know this. The most useful thing to find, I think, well, the two most useful things to find are octaves and power chords. There's an octave there. Both notes are the same note. I'm not thinking about what note they are, by the way. I'm not thinking about what chord I'm playing. Just now, the way that I, in my head, think, okay, that's an octave, is the start of Common People by Pulp. The next most important thing to find in any open tuning is the fifths, okay? The power chords. Now, a lot of people associate that interval with Star Wars. Fortunately, I actually think of Brave Star, the opening, because I'm getting quite old. Although Brave Star is newer than Star Wars, but Star Wars is more universal. Anyway. Fortunately, in this tuning, the power chords are kind of what they normally would be. So we'll find those intervals, all right? We can just play around them. And we can just play the open strings. Now in shoegaze, I always say, moving up and down the fretboard while playing open strings is a cheat code for writing shoegaze and alt rock tunes, okay? So we'll just move this shape around while playing the open strings. I'm just improvising there. So use your ear. Don't think about this in terms of scales or anything. We're just sketching at the moment. If you're sketching a sketchbook, no one has to see it, all right? We're just exploring. I reckon if I move, like, one way to add dissonance is to move in in intervals of one fret, like a minor second. So we can make it sound horrible. Make it sound horrible. You know what I say. You end up sounding like Sonic Youth, and you sound great. We can also add this. We can add the power chords. Easy. We've just came up with something very, very nice there. I've never played that tune before. I think it sounds nice. I don't know what you think about it. Do you reckon it's all right? I think it is. Now, yeah, I might like to add other intervals, like. I know that that's a perfect fourth because it sounds like the first two. It sounds like the first two notes of Amazing Grace. Now, you can find those in any open tuning. Obviously, some of them are going to be easier to play than others, but the open strings are going to have a different relationship than if you're playing an open tuning, and this is why it makes it much easier to play in open tunings. It's a cheat code for guitar. Do not make it harder than it has to be. So let's try moving around this fourth shape. Well, actually, it's the same as a power chord. Now, it's very good for alt rock and shoegaze to just simply, I've done this in other videos where you just simply use one finger and move it up and down the fretboard. Johnny Greenwood does this. A good example of it is Johnny Greenwood does it in the intro to You on Pablo Honey. So let's put all this together, okay? We've went over this very quickly. Just improvising here, just making it up. I'm not thinking about what the chords are. I'm just playing some open notes and some magic is happening. I'm not thinking about what the chords are. I'm not thinking about whether it's the 1 to the 5, then resolving back to the 1. And I'm not thinking about any of that. In this video, I'm not even putting up the shapes of the chords because it really doesn't matter what I'm playing. These are just simple concepts that you can apply them to any tuning. Let's see what you get. So. A little new metal style. Familiar shape there. Just borrowing these first 3 strings because I've noticed that this is basically drop D. And quite a lot of open tunings have that. Okay. By the way, I think on Loveless by My Bloody Valentine, they do quite a bit of that, just barring, okay? Now, open tunings are, alternative tunings are quite often open tunings, which means you can just simply bar. You can basically bar anywhere because if we take fragments of a chord, it generally sounds good anyway. So by basically playing part of a chord, it can sound good if we move it up and down the fretboard. So I'm just barring. Nothing about what that is. It's just whatever. It's transposing the open tuning up and down the neck, and we're going to add. This is something that Bert Jansch uses this in "Go Your Way, My Love." Well, I'm in the wrong tuning for it, but you take it from me. He does do it in "Go Your Way, My Love" off the album Nicola, right? Just adding a little one finger wherever's comfortable, and we'll just explore that. Just exploring. Okay, it's not hard. We're trying to make things easy for ourselves at the moment. I see some videos about how to play in DADGAD, and they talk about which chords you can play. For me, it's more about shapes that you can just move around the fretboard. And if you get used to playing in open tunings, you'll find these little shapes that you're just used to playing in. See, that sounds nice. Nice little interval there. That sounds a bit jarring, so you know what I'll do? I'll move up and down 1 fret because we're always next to a note that's going to work generally. How easy is that, man? How easy is that? My gosh, we're just pumping out dynamite here. Nothing but solid gold bangers right now. And you're going to do better than me because you're not concentrating on talking to a camera and speaking into a microphone the right way and holding the guitar in the correct orientation so grown men don't come into your comments and say that they can't see the guitar. By the way, we're using a simple setup today, just going through the HX Stomp into the Computer Dora. But most of my sound tools that I'm using today are linked in the description. Give it a like and a subscribe while you're down there. Guys, thank you so much to the Patreons. You keep this channel going, you really do. It does make it worthwhile, that little bit extra coming in every month. My gosh, you used to have to be a rich person to support the arts, and now you can be just a magnificent person. See, work in progress. Ask me some questions over there. All right, I'm doing some dungeon synth at the moment, and I'm posting that up on the Patreon a little bit. I post my jams on there. Get a little shout out at the end of the video. But your likes and subscribes are much appreciated. I do appreciate it a lot. It's hard to overcomplicate this, but people do. All right, keep it easy. Make it easy for yourself. We're in the ideas game. We're not making it sport. Okay. If you want to learn a few more alt rock and shoegaze techniques, check out one of these videos here. All right, whichever side the may appear on. Take it easy, guys.